Hey there, welcome to episode 151 of the Let's Innovate for Vegas audio program. I'm your host, Dan Hugo, Managing Director of the Innovate for Vegas Foundation here in the Greater Vegas area. We are a 501c3 public charity and Nevada nonprofit corporation. We're recording this show at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on this Tuesday, January 6, 2026. Happy New Year if we didn't get you in the last episode. No, this is the first episode of the new year, actually. This is CES week. I don't know if you've tracked that, if you're into that. CES is a big deal here in Vegas. It's the beginning of the convention season after a weird 2025, so everybody's watching this one as a kickoff. I am not at the show at the moment. I'm probably going to go tomorrow. I myself have been, I think, 13 times in a row. They all kind of run together at some point. Hey, if you've never heard of the Innovate for Vegas Foundation and you found yourself listening to this audio program, congratulations. Hopefully these will be interesting to you. The Innovate for Vegas Foundation is, as I said, a Nevada nonprofit corporation, a 501c3 public charity, a civic volunteer organization from top to bottom. I, as managing director, I'm empowered by my own satisfaction with the efforts we are endeavoring, as is the case with everyone else participating. We have a lot of initiatives that are aimed at, well, hey, why don't we tell you the purpose of our organization, our purpose on file, to enable and encourage ideation, innovation, and implementation to make our communities better. You'll note I did not use the words code or app, not even technology. Innovation can take many forms. And it can be done by many people. I hesitate to use the word, but many types of people. People that are into tech or not tech. People who are into working with other people. People who are into working on their own. People of all ages. People of all stripes, as one might say. So all kinds of cool stuff going on. We have 151 episodes of this sort of thing. We did have an episode 0, so there you go. We're about to have one more at the end of today's episode. As I said, this week will be CES here in Vegas. It's a lot of networking going on. You will often see people say they will post on LinkedIn often. Some other social networks, social media sites as well. But a lot of, hey, I'll be in Vegas if you want to meet up. This week, the attendance for CES 2026 is estimated to be 140,000, off of its high, 180,000 a while ago. But that's still a lot of people to just run into. But that is one reason to have CES, to connect. But is LinkedIn the best way to do that? Hey, today's title and topic, replacing LinkedIn. It's something I've talked about a couple of times. Hopefully wherever you found this audio program, you're able to locate the episode description, which contains the show notes, including a 1-sentence summary, which I will read, and the links for today's episode, which I will not. New year, time to stop reading through all of the links, all the usual links in future episodes. If there's a link for that episode of a particular relevance, hopefully they always are relevant. I may sprinkle some summary or relevance information as I mention the link, but the links are included in the episode description so that you may click on them or locate them explicitly, so I don't need to spell them out. So, new year, let's cut down on the front matter for our episodes. So let's get started so we can get finished, and I'll probably go get my badge today and go to the show tomorrow. I used to go every day, 4 days. It's a lot. The most interesting part, Eureka Park, can be, you can spend all 4 days there if you really want to. But that's good for about 2 days. On that note, the summary of today's episode. During this week of CES 2026, let us ponder, production by Street. During this week of CES 2026, let us ponder the replacement of LinkedIn for a social graph of expertise. Did I mean replace LinkedIn because it is the social graph of expertise and we need a better one? Yeah, something like that. The links, of course, you will find the usual links. I don't have any extra links for today's episode. So the usual weekly links that point to our homepages can be found wherever you found this audio program in the episode description. Let's get on with the show. Let's start with the problem with LinkedIn. What's my beef? I've talked about this previously, especially on one of my other productions, Cafe Genius Impresarios. Probably found wherever you found these audio programs. I don't link to my personal projects from our foundation media, so I will leave it to you to track that down. But my other production, that focuses more on the issues around. That program focuses on the Greater Vegas entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem. So LinkedIn fits in nicely there, unfortunately. So that episode focuses more on the issues around reliance on LinkedIn here in the Greater Vegas area to publish news and announcements. If this is true, LinkedIn is apparently the most popular social network site. I should have said that. So yeah, allegedly LinkedIn is the number one site, but I think they probably mean for social networking. Perhaps as it has grown to be more of a social media networking site, it may not rank as highly against the likes of TikTok or YouTube or Facebook or who knows. But it is a very popular social network site, which has again grown to become an AI slop steaming pile. Just my opinion. I joined LinkedIn in August of 2020. Don't say, how do you say those dates anymore? 2003. There you go. August, I think it was August 11th. If you're curious, 2003, the company launched in May of 2003. Back then, it was literally a live business card that could connect to your colleagues from previous jobs. And while it started after the dot-com bust, I had already left Silicon Valley and was living in Phoenix, where I grew up by the time LinkedIn entered the fray, but it still was useful. So yeah, it started after the dot-com bust, or as some called it, the dot bomb, or however you might remember it back then. It was still interesting and useful to be able to construct the network from all those jobs during the dot-com boom. I was instantly sold on the idea. I had worked at many different companies. If you looked at my profile, you would say, oh, that's a lot of different companies. And you would be correct. Silicon Valley was not a normal place in a normal time. Companies would come and go. You were better off always looking for a new job because you probably would need one. At the 20-year mark, so 2023, I stopped using LinkedIn actively, aside from the social network graph. That is, I still connect with people if invited, and I invite them sometimes, but I stopped posting. I rarely comment. In fact, I spent 1 year posting an image of an exit, like a European-style exit sign. I started seeing those when I went to Eindhoven when I was working at Philips Components. And so I saw the Ike Gang sign, a person running through a square, door, square door though. So I posted that image in green with a countdown. I think it was on the 1st of each month or something. So that by January 1st, it would be 0 days and the last 3 months were red. So I made it very clear to anyone who was paying attention, who was curious or, about my posting. My posts were very literally, I am not going to be reachable here. That didn't really work. So I still connect with people. The social graph still has some value. And I very rarely comment or react to posts that others make. Every once in a while, it has to be something really interesting. And I react more. I do the thumbs up or celebrate. Somebody gets a new job or launches a new company or something. Sure, that's totally normal. That's fine. What I'm not totally enthralled with is there's been a tremendous swing in this direction, especially the last year, is people posting about how many followers they have, how they increase their number of followers, a lot of pontificating about the best ways to do things. And if you're not being appreciated, I'm not diminishing the value of something like this. If you're not appreciated, find a different job. Great. But it's almost like they're just hammering these messages home. So it's almost like they live. So for better or worse, we have a LinkedIn business page to deal with. So I'll mention that next. Let's talk about that for a sec. Our LinkedIn page. And I'll start off with what I said was the horrible. We've grown our follower count by almost 100 people over the last, 100 followers. Hopefully they're all people over the last couple of months. So I think since the summer 2025, I believe as I'm recording this, we're at 840 followers, and it was probably like 725 or something like that. I've mostly gone through my personal contact list and invited more people. When we first launched, we wanted to get the word out that we were launching, so you could invite 250 people at the time. Excuse me. At the time, I had over 3,000 network connections, and I had already been pruning my network connections, people I'd never heard from, etc. So I had over 3,000. I sent out 220 or something. Got a bunch of followers. So every month I would try to invite a bunch of people who I thought would be interested in what we were trying to accomplish. So since we are in year 4 now, and I stopped doing that for a while, but I figured, let me see who's still interested. And over the last year and a half, I had been reducing. Again, I'd been pruning away people who were unresponsive. It turns out I could probably prune away 3,000 people. I'd be better off. But so I was pruning away people and adding new people more in adjacent verticals like education and other tech areas outside of Vegas. So for a while I had dipped below 3,000. I think I was in the 2,900-ish range. Now I'm back to 3,100 or something connections. So we'll get to that in a second. So I went through my personal contact list, sent out the 250. Now, I was not hitting 250 every month, but for the past 6 months, maybe 100, maybe 50, maybe 150, somewhere in there, just randomly going through, casting a more broad net. And so they were getting LinkedIn invites basically from me. So someone they probably know, although more and more of so I used to have a rule that I would only connect with people that I had met in person or who I had worked with. Now, I don't really follow that rule. So a lot of the people I'm connected to on LinkedIn, I've never met or interacted with. All that said, we have 840 followers now, but we have no real organic engagement. And let us be honest, no engagement with any of our 840 followers basically at all as of the time of this recording. So for all those 840 followers, and some of them may even see what is posted to our page, no one actually interacts with it in any way. That's convenient. I am going to guess, since we do not follow any of the algorithmic ideals, nor do we even attempt to track them, like what's the best way to get followers on LinkedIn for 2025? Didn't look at that one. We almost certainly get very little in the way of impressions, and so essentially zero engagement. Reactions and comments are just about zero. We can't even count on announcements posted that they are actually reaching anyone. So we usually don't. So when we were announcing hackathons, for example, when we were having our monthly hackathon meetup, we would post it on the LinkedIn page. Almost no engagement, and certainly nobody was showing up as a result of any engagement there was. So those faded away. What is worse than this? The follower count is deceptive, the illusion of engagement, which we cannot count on. We have various city staff and educators and others in various relevant fields, not to mention others involved in the old brigade system from Code for America, Innovate for Vegas Foundation, formerly Code for Vegas, formerly a part of Code for America, and many more. We have all sorts of people following from a very varied collection of origins, if you like. It would be nice to think they would see and perhaps respond to relevant posts, but that has simply not been the case. Why follow and not engage? Well, who can say? Except they may not be seeing any of the content at all, thanks to the LinkedIn algorithm, which we don't try to please. So we can look at the deprecation. We can look at deprecation and replacement of our page to be sure. And ideally, the LinkedIn as the go-to for connecting expertise and experience and knowledge, potential employers and employees, and so on. So what next? The algorithm has taken over LinkedIn, not to mention AI posting. AI matching, AI job recs, and so on and so on. We have the illusion of connection and a chaperone looking over our engagements. The value of LinkedIn remains in its social graph, the social network, if you prefer, which is overrun by the media posts and the feed tuning and whatnot. So you're connected to people, and then that's it. Do you ever interact with them at all? Do you ever read what they post? Do you ever react or respond or engage with their participation in the LinkedIn social graph? Maybe you do. Certainly, there's no shortage of people commenting and liking, so that they too will be boosted by the algorithm. If you ever really look at the posts and then the comments and so on, you'll get some sense of what I'm talking about. And as well, fun fact, here in Vegas loves LinkedIn. City staff loves LinkedIn, as in the government. So if you are interested in what's going on in Vegas, you really should follow Who Knows in Vegas. Well, why do I say who knows? We'll get to that. Because they post information there, because we don't have media infrastructure in Vegas that allows wide, broad, what is it? What's the word I'm looking for? Dissemination. Thank you. Doesn't really enable easy and broad dissemination of information. So if you're not in a car accident with a pedestrian, if you're not tearing down a resort, or if you're not building a new resort, if you're not participating and bolstering the fun economy, trademark UNLV Office of Economic Development, February 2025, how are you supposed to get into the front page of our local media, our local, professional / legacy media? So LinkedIn is the go-to where information is posted. But because of the algorithm and because of the way LinkedIn works in general, if you're not following the right people, you may never see any of these announcements. This creates something of a warm introduction problem in a different form. So if you are only introduced to people that if you introduce someone to people that you know, and that's the way you meet new people, you're only going to meet people who know each other. So you get a nice warm introduction. So you will meet my friends and their friends and so on, but you're not meeting a random population sample. Similarly, LinkedIn, you must be following the right people to either get primary or secondary referral feed content. So if I'm following the city manager, the mayor, whoever, right? City staff, somebody in city staff, if they post something, I will see it. If they will respond or engage with something that someone else posted, I will probably see that. And actually, in both cases, I'm indicating some level of certainty. Who knows? So if I'm not following that city staffer, I probably won't see what they post. I probably won't see the things that they engage with. So the city staff is encouraged to like and comment on posts by their colleagues. That feeds the algorithm and increases overall engagement. Now, I was in a presentation by our, I can't remember what his title was, essentially the CTO of the city, head of disruption, head of not responding to email, something, whatever his title was. And he actually said right up front, "Oh, LinkedIn's great. We get really great engagement. We're reaching a lot of people." All those things may or may not be true. But it was interesting to see the level of excitement about the use of LinkedIn. So again, the city of Las Vegas encourages their city staff to post and to engage with their colleagues, feeding the algorithm. So yeah, what next? The illusion of connection and the chaperone. So the problem with LinkedIn direct messaging is it's not email. It's not even a chat program. You can only communicate with people that are using that platform. So you get a similar problem to WhatsApp and any chat program, Telegram, Signal, Facebook Messenger. All of these tools require that you all be a part of this platform. Okay. So if you choose not to be on LinkedIn, if you choose not to use LinkedIn, then you could be left out of a conversation. It's kind of leaning towards that's not such a bad idea. But in general, you kind of had to be a part to be a part, if that makes sense. Got to be signed up and following everybody and being followed and connected, and then getting in on some of those DMs. But the real value though, is that connection network. So if I'm connected to the mayor, the city manager, like I said, then those connections are visible for the most part, and you get to see what they're posting if you so desire. And but the connectivity, because it's visible, could come in handy. And it's an interesting way to discover who has particular job roles. If you're looking for who's in charge of the fire department, if you're looking for who's in charge of the library system. And this is obviously it also works for some companies, some commercial entities, startups. Sometimes people will post something about what they're working on other than stealth mode. So it can be useful, obviously, from the college classmates and colleagues and so on. All very interesting. So connecting with people, thus social network or social graph. Who am I connected to? Are they connected to me? And so on. Still somewhat interesting, but this is not magic. They have momentum. They've been in this business since May of 2003. Where LinkedIn drops off the cliff, my opinion, the algorithm can literally prevent anyone from seeing or otherwise encountering information they are possibly interested in finding. The personal LinkedIn feed is ads, boosted content, and especially algorithmic boosted content based on post content and following the rules. So in other words, the topic is not enough. It has to be structured correctly. And here's the main killer, the follow. As I always say, if you are not following the right people or connected to them, that is probably a boost signal. You miss out. So I've just gotten done sort of describing some of that. Feeding the algorithm could have a counterintuitive outcome. So depending on what you are trying to feed to these, the math, whatever signals you're providing, it may actually display your content to some of the right people. And this is anecdotal. But there are countless LinkedIn users that are posting the LinkedIn 2026 cheat sheet, how to get more followers, okay, great. What happens if we remove the algorithm, or at least hand over those switches and dials to the user, that's you and me, but also make the network visible and observable and make it actually available, I suppose, the actual connect mechanisms to another application. So that is, so I guess that word is, so you leave it, a little typo there. So having the connection, having the network, the graph available, visible, observable, but then allowing the connect mechanisms to be performed by other applications is a possibility. It's something to think about. That is by conflating a private connection and public connections, right? So the connect mechanism on LinkedIn, by making them, you can follow someone, but don't allow. They have all kinds of access rules, right? So I can make my connections visible. I can make them private. Actually, it's kind of a coarse settings. Anyway, by conflating a private connection and public connection. So I have one pool of connections, and some of them, I don't want people to know I'm connected to them, perhaps. Maybe recruiters. I don't want people to know I'm looking for a job. And public connections, like, I don't want people to know I'm connected to the Republican or the Democrat if I'm the opposite party or whatever it is for government. We add layers of complication to the presentation of information so that the feed gets more complicated. If you have a private connection, are you shown the same content as if you have a public connection? By the way, if you are marking your profile on LinkedIn as public or private, I have mine set to private so people don't see that I'm viewing their profiles and so on. But if you're a paid LinkedIn member, you can see, and so it gets very complicated. And so the notion of a private connection and a public connection, not to mention company. Now, if you this is from the old days, some people would create a LinkedIn account, a user for a company, and so you would follow the company as though you were following another person. Now the business pages, take that role, but now you have a feed that intermingles people people that are private or public connections, people who you are following, company pages that you are following. It's kind of a mishmash. And then you leave it to LinkedIn to manage that for you. So if you need private connections or limit who is allowed to follow you or connect with you, a social network built around workplace or similar relations is not necessarily the catch-all solution to count on. That's my opinion. So the take-home, LinkedIn started out as a business card website. It has become a social media announcement, SEO, algorithmic, AI generated job website, marketing website, personal announcement. So every day you'll see posts in the same feed. If I was tempted to pull up and see what my feed would tell me at any given moment, you're going to get advertisements, you're going to get company posts if you're following company pages, you're going to get personal posts, you're going to get heavily politicized. That's the new trend. You're going to get pontification, you're going to get life stories. I saw a horrible post today. It's yet another reason I'm moving away. Like, people are very free now to say and write things that you would not say in a professional network. Like, keep that to the friend group or to people who are expecting that. Who really wants to, like, hey, what's going on in the world of tech? And my colleagues from I didn't want to see that. So LinkedIn has become a mishmash, a catch-all, and because of its popularity and because of their heavy adoption of AI, I think the platform is becoming less valuable for its popularity. It doesn't hurt that it was purchased by Microsoft many years ago. So what if we were to replace it? Greater Vegas appears to lack a usable asset map as a starting point. Not as a starting point overall, but as a starting point for, hey, we can do better than LinkedIn. So we lack a usable asset map that's visible to the public, easy to find, easy to add yourself or something to, easy to remove yourself from, etc. I once searched for an asset map in Clark County, and I think someone prepared the document, but it was essentially a PDF prepared by some external consultancy, which is the usual path for government anyway. But this would include the people, their particular set of skills, and how they fit into the physical resources of the area. Like, are they a maker? Are they a part of the maker spaces? However many we have here. How about co-work spaces? Do you facilitate meetups? Do you teach? Are you an educator? Are you a consultant? Do you freelance? Are you developing a startup idea? Are you exited from a startup? Like, to know these things, I don't need to know your life story, but if someone wants to opt into sharing certain pieces of information, the asset map of a region is essentially, and not to turn people into assets, but is, what do we have here? What kinds of, and obviously if you're not willing to offer up your experiences as some sort of a conversation starter or as a resource to give advice or to help people, you don't have to list them. But if there was some way of saying, do we really have people here who are interested in XYZ? Then this is one way to find that. Finding that on LinkedIn can be very difficult if you can find it at all. You might even need to be a premium member to get that sort of information. So yeah, if we can map, it could be a real map. You can see geospatially where these assets are, but essentially it's a collection of data. You could view it as a graph. Who's connected to whom? What sorts of skill sets? What sorts of resources? How do they interoperate? How do they interconnect? So all these things, they make an entrepreneurial innovations ecosystem function better to have these things, right? And if you know approximately how many of these things, assets, you have in a particular locality, Greater Vegas, over time you should be able to see that, here's where we have more of this. Here's how we've declined in that. There are fewer people starting their own businesses. There are fewer people opening restaurants. More people are becoming YouTubers, whatever it is, whatever the case may be. So something like this can be built explicitly by asking, hey, would you like to put yourself into the asset map? And again, you can literally create a map and say, like, I am here and I service this area. So you can actually, you can do some interesting things. And the fun part is because you have some control over what the things are that you do, and then you allow people to have some control over which pieces of information they provide. So where some might not consider an asset map to be a real map, you might start off by saying, hey, put yourself on the map, and what is your service area? Oh, all of Clark County. Oh, only, a 2-mile radius, or only in the places where I have business licenses. So it could be in other cities, or it could be anything, right? Then we can actually implicitly gather up some of the network connectivity with social network platforms where we can get that information. And if the person in the asset map wants to connect themselves to their social network presence, then you can start to gain some insights into who is working with whom, who knows whom, etc. All this data can be blended together, a little sensor fusion of sorts. This latter path, the fusion method, is probably the best way and would provide for an opt-in scheme. So if you don't want to participate, just don't. If you don't want to share certain pieces of information, don't, etc. The so-called Fediverse can play a role here for a variety of elements of this overall notion. Basically, a social graph can be assembled within a platform, something like Mastodon to start, and build from there. Or we could enable people to manage their own networks, the social network that could have been. You can search for that. You will find some RDF and FOF, FOAF, friend of a friend, and other such references, which I have described in previous episodes of this very program. Because the things I'm going to talk about to lean into or presume a Fediverse direction and use of semantic data and resource description framework, notions, taxonomies, and so on, all these things. To get the ball rolling, then a Mastodon server, and remember, I've mentioned this before, we already have the domain for that. So mastodon.vegas, one of these days, I think for the new year, and the timing is right now. Mastodon could be used to build an early adopter network, useful for sharing information like who knows whom, right? So Mastodon, of course, uses ActivityPub. That's become the de facto, the lingua franca of the Fediverse. ActivityPub, as in, I think it's for publish and subscribe, or public, or publicized. ActivityPub provides vocabulary and a protocol, basically how to follow people, connect, follow, subscribe, comment, respond, forward, all the things that you've come to expect from a Twitter or a Blue Sky, but they're implemented in this standard way so that you are not merely sharing a tweet. You can be sharing an activity stream item. So activity stream and activity pub go together like peas and carrots. So activity stream, surprise, relies heavily on structured data and open standards and things like, I think activity stream leans into JSON LD, but RDF, JSON LD, semantic web, schema.org, these are all things you will begin to come across if you delve into this. So open standards are nice. Our MyMuni and Welcome initiatives, which I've spoken of in previous episodes, are precisely those built on top of this web standard. That's the idea. An asset map could be derived from these tools with opt-in by the people in a community or a locality. So a community could extend beyond a locality. So they're not necessarily the same thing. So, of course, we assume MyMuni, my municipality, my community, assumes proximity. And then our Welcome initiative presumes distance, but occasional proximity, people who are visiting, non-locals. So proximal is fine. The Munibits initiative, the Munibits is the thing we want to deploy based on MyMuni and Welcome. So Munibits, community bits, municipal bits, right? Data and information, social connection. These initiatives are intended to function in a local context, a locality context. So a locality is a smaller geographical place, a region is a larger, and so on. So locality, town, city, maybe county County is a little bit big. That's more of a region. So town or city scale, most likely. But what about between these? Could North Vegas and Henderson interoperate with City of Las Vegas and each other? Or how about unincorporated Clark County? Well, this is where the Fediverse notion becomes more interesting, since rather than relying on central platforms like Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, there are now open platforms for localities that automatically interoperate. So there could be a North Las Vegas platform and a Vegas platform and a Henderson platform and a Enterprise and a Paradise, and there could be any number. Some of them could be sanctioned, managed and maintained by government entities. It could be NGOs. It could be individual, like we're a nonprofit. We intend to manage Mastodon.Vegas to get it off the ground, but there's no exclusivity. It would take some convincing, but municipal presence is assumed. So my community is my community or my municipality. So you would hope that there would be some sort of a city level participation. In Vegas, that is a hope and a dream, but unlikely. But my municipality or my community, various platforms are automatically interoperable. So it could be cities interoperating. So people who live in a city might want to join a social network for their city for the purposes of connecting with people around them. Now think next door, but not as outright awful. And by the way, one of the things about the Fediverse, the notion of a credible exit, the portable account portability, and so on. So one could actually move, could relocate their account. If I moved from Vegas to Henderson, in this scheme, I could say, I'd like to move my account from Vegas to Henderson, the associated Fediverse-friendly server platforms. So there's no need to be committed to one. What is it called? The cost of exit. Is that what it is? Why people stay on Facebook? Well, the rest of my friends use it. I won't be able to talk to them if I leave Facebook. But in the Fediverse scheme, you are free. It's not completely painless. It could be improved. And hey, it's open source software. It could be improved. The notion that you must remain on the platform forever, a la Facebook, X, etc. I have 1 million followers. I don't want to lose them. Well, you can still keep them and move around. So again, a work in progress, but that is a built-in notion to not be bound to a platform. Or you can even self-host your own. I could very easily have a Mastodon server running on Innovate for Vegas. Who says we won't? The same distal interoperability extends all the way out. So it could be cities connected to each other, or people in different cities or different places. It could be county or state level. Communities, clubs, organizations, entities in general can connect and can have their own servers, or can join servers in different regions, etc. So having a regional orientation is one approach. It doesn't have to be that. It could be pretty much anything. Self-organization is one of the strengths and weaknesses of the Fediverse. So it's a grand experiment. But in an innovation hub, a global innovation hub such as the Greater Vegas area, this is right in line with what we're trying to pursue, right? There is no reason to hand over everything to the likes of a LinkedIn or a Twitter or a Blue Sky or anyone else. The protocols are open, the presence can remain yours, and the conversation can flow as it will. No chaperone, no algorithm. So in other words, you're not subject to the algorithm of LinkedIn to decide who gets to see what. You don't have to use their messaging platform. You can select actually the network scheme that is used in a Mastodon or more Activity Pub, the subscribers, the followers, all that stuff. We could convert that to FOF, or people could manage their own, friend of a friend. This is a way that you can control. You could have 2 different networks. You could have more than one network. How about that? You could have a work network. You could have private connections with people that you don't want to be made public. And again, the recruiter example is not uncommon. If you are, and this is the commingle challenge of LinkedIn, if I'm on LinkedIn and my management of the company I work for are also connected to me, and I'm posting things like, hey, I'm available to work. Hey, I'm connecting to more and more job recruiters. And oh, I started following the competitor page on LinkedIn, and I've connected with well, that starts to become uncomfortable if you're not careful. So being able to maintain your own private connections could be left to you and could be enabled. So there's a lot of things that are left on the table when we hand over our brand, our network. Oh, did you happen to download everybody's email address before they stopped sharing that information? So now you have an address book on LinkedIn that they get to control, and they decide what you get to keep of your connections. Do people manage their own contact list anymore? That's a different question. But yeah, what if we actually put the control of these things back into your hands? That's not to get too conspiratorial. I'm not pounding on a table right now, but the internet has much potential. And like I said, the social network that could have been, you could have had portable, self-determined sovereignty on the internets. And then you could have done what you wanted to do. You could have communicated and connected with people you wanted to communicate and connect with, and so on. So these are things that are all still available. All the technologies exist, all the protocols. And the Fediverse is leaning back in that direction. So all this brings us to this notion, which I had already announced on the LinkedIn page, and I think I've mentioned it in our audio programming recently. We are deprecating our page on LinkedIn. Now, this is not something that will just happen today. So I've mentioned this before. It may have been a year ago around this time. I definitely added a post. I put a sunset photo that we are deprecating our page on January 1st. So what does deprecating really mean? Well, we're moving it to retired status, less usage, less reliance on it. Probably nobody saw it, most likely. The return on investment of time is essentially zero for our LinkedIn page, and the premise of LinkedIn pages is antithetical to the overall notion of empowering individuals with some internet sovereignty, which, as it happens, is the general idea of the Fediverse. Hey, that sounds familiar. We are already stopping the audio episode posts. I'm no longer posting links to our individual audio programs. I used to post those at some point during the week, like, hey, here's the latest episode, maybe every 2 weeks, or so twice a month, essentially. So 2 episodes a month, still zero engagement. Now, here's the thing. If you're someone who listens to audio programs, like podcasts, you know that there are better ways to find them. You find them in, maybe you're an Apple iTunes person, maybe you used to use Google Podcasts, and now you use YouTube, which has its own issues, but we have our YouTube account, our YouTube channel. And maybe you consume RSS feeds, so you're able to subscribe to shows. We have all those things. So people who listen to podcasts can use the tools that they are already using. So advertising on LinkedIn regularly was not getting us anywhere, and I don't think it was helping anyone else. So discovering our audio programs on our LinkedIn page, probably zero. So we're shifting to an announcement model. Like I said, people don't really see those either, but we can simply announce as we make progress on various initiatives. And of course, we can announce events like the Smarter City Hackathon meetups as those come together, other elements of the effort. But when it comes to things like, hey, does anyone want to participate in the Smarter City Hackathon? We get no response. So we're not reaching people who might be interested. So this is where the MyMuni and the Welcome, well, MyMuni especially, initiatives come into play, so we can help communicate. They're information sharing platforms at the end of the day. We should be able to reach people who are not following our page, because the intersection of people following our page and people who will take an interest in what we're posting on it, apparently very small. And more concerning is the set of people who are interested in what we're doing and who might be interested in participating may not be following us on LinkedIn, may not even be using LinkedIn. And at that point, what are we doing? Why are we relying on LinkedIn? So we don't. So we can't. So yeah, we've already stopped posting the audio episodes. We'll move to an announcement model, but we have to have a clear understanding that there are better ways to share that information and engage our locals at whatever distance. So they could be down the street. They could be somewhere in Greater Vegas. They could be somewhere in Southern Nevada, which is slightly larger. Although when you think about it, Vegas could be any boundary. Nobody really knows where Vegas begins and ends. Technically, there is a precise boundary, but hey, I'm in Vegas. Well, actually, you're in unincorporated Clark County. I'm in Vegas. I have some funny stories about that. People almost violently convinced that they are in. I'm in Vegas. Where are you? You're not in Vegas. I'm like, no, I live in the city of Las Vegas. No, you're way up there. We're on the Strip. This is Vegas. No, not exactly. And that is that. The deprecation will be over the course of 2026 with our primary points of publication for our audio programs already in place. Right now, it's the usual suspects. It's Spotify, and then it gets distributed to other locations. We'll move our real primary to our own web properties, innovateforvegas.org, etc. And then Spotify and Apple and Amazon and others will become secondaries. But we're already not relying on LinkedIn at all for podcast distribution, audio program. We have our YouTube channel. We'll eventually move to some video content as well. And we can follow a similar path with LinkedIn. We'll make it a secondary. It will first become a secondary, and then we can determine whether it hangs on. I wrote hands on. Whether LinkedIn hangs on beyond 2026. So if we post things like progress on our initiatives, announcing, now we won't make the mistake of making a LinkedIn event. Those are troublesome because they don't interoperate well with other tools. Not in my experience. If they change that, great. But creating LinkedIn events basically forks your event, like having two checkbooks. Once you have two calendars or two, like, oh, we're on Eventbrite and LinkedIn, and yeah, now you got to manage all those. So which one do I have to RSVP to? Which, come on. So our smart calendar thing is intended to address that. But in general, not using the LinkedIn infrastructure for events is part of moving away from all this. So none of that. So we'll follow a similar path with LinkedIn. We'll make it's becoming less a place where we will post ongoing things, more announcements, fewer time-related things, if that makes sense. So audio programs are serialized. There's episode 1 and then 2 and then 3. If we post episodes 1, 5, and 10, people can still get a sense that, oh, there's something in between those. Rather than doing that, we can just post updates to our initiatives whenever. The notion would be, oh, I didn't know they were working on that. Oh, look, they're making that thing. If anyone's interested, great. But it won't be the primary way to find out about those things. Those things will ideally be available to the general public as we continue working on them. And then eventually LinkedIn would become a trailing edge resource. So when you see it on LinkedIn, you're seeing it after most people. And that could be the way LinkedIn is anyway. So it'll become secondary, and then we'll see. We'll see at the end of 2026 if people are not interacting with it. It'll probably go away. And that, I hope on a personal note, will be that. So that is, I hope that will be the case. I'm not a fan of LinkedIn, as you've gathered. I don't think it's helpful for people who just want to use, it's helpful for people who just want that social graph. They want to know who I'm connected to so-and-so. Hey, here's a suggested connection based on the people you know. I used to get connections of people with the same names as other people, even though I had no connection otherwise. So, hey, do you know John Smith? No. I know another person named John Smith, but not that, or John Doe, maybe. But yeah, I don't know this person. So yeah, the recommendation algorithm was all over the place. But that part is somewhat useful. It doesn't require LinkedIn. Just the fact that they have that momentum and they have that collection of contacts, probably billions at this point. So if you are already signed up for LinkedIn, the social graph is already there for you if you have connections. So that part is actually of some value that could be duplicated on a smaller scale. So that's sort of what I've described here. that part doesn't necessarily get replaced, but it could be augmented. It could be an adjacent alternative application scheme with opt-in, etc. So, but yeah, LinkedIn in general, less and less useful. And I think we can do better. And so that's one of the goals. It's one of the initiatives, two actually. And fingers crossed. So that's that. If you are in and listening to this for CES, if you're in for CES and you're listening to this, that's weird, but good. Thanks. If you're listening to this sometime after the fact, hopefully this sounds interesting to you, and we'll have more to say about it over time. But you surely did not find this post via our LinkedIn page. That much is certain. Take care now. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next week. And have safe travels if you are coming to or departing Vegas for CES or otherwise. Take care now. Bye-bye.